Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more predator patterning. And I've got a combination out here today that we haven't seen in a little while, and one that has kind of given us some mixed results in the past. So it might work out for us today, or it might not. In theory, it should do pretty well, but I guess we don't really know until we try it anyway. But for the shell I've got out here today, I brought out some more of the Hornady Heavy Magnum Coyote rounds. These are a 12 gauge, 3 inch, 1.5 ounce of nickel plated lead BB shot, moving about 1,300 feet per second. And these shells have shown us some good results so far. But the last time we shot them through this setup, they did kind of mediocre compared to some other tests we've done with them. So will the combination today actually help them out any and get some good performance for us? I don't know, maybe. And before I forget to mention here, these shells do have the Hornady Versatite wad, which is, for all intents and purposes, a straight up federal flight control wad. So we do have to keep that in mind as well. But as for the setup I've got to run them through today, I brought back out the Mossberg 835 Ulti-Mag. But as for a choke, I went a pretty interesting direction, but by the numbers, it should work for us, I would guess anyway. This is the stock turkey full choke for the gun, which is right at 710 constriction. Now, if you don't know, these 835s are overboard to a 10 gauge bore size. So even by the numbers here, even though it is a turkey full choke, it's not necessarily a super tight constriction either. So I'm thinking if we see a good pattern from these shells and this 835, it's probably going to have a better chance with a little bit tighter of a choke like this. But who knows until we really try it. But at least for the numbers on the paper and how they compare to kind of a normal 12 gauge, this 710 turkey full is kind of right in the numbers where these shells seem to like to be at. So with that being said, as for our test today, everything is the same as always. I have the big piece of paper set up down range at 40 yards. I also have the chronograph, so we'll be able to see our speed. So let's get you guys a view of this target and take this shot and see what actually happens with these Magnum Coyote loads through this turkey full choke in this gun. I'm hoping that this is our chance to really get a decent pattern here today, but we don't know until we try it. So let's head over here, take our shot, and just see what we get, good or bad. Okay, so that shell gave us 1350 through our chronograph. The box was claiming 1300, so we are 50 feet per second above their claim. And surprisingly enough, I think this might be the first time that we've actually seen their claim or a little bit more. From what I remember, they usually float right around 1200 or just under. So at least it's good to see their claim. And with a lead load of BB flying down range at 1350 feet per second, you're going to be carrying a pretty good amount of energy. So everything looks pretty good up here, but how did it actually pattern down there at 40 yards? Let's go take a look and see. Alright, so now we're down here looking at our 40-yard paper, and this is what we got. Now for a quick reference, the white dot was my point of aim, and the paper is 36 inches wide by roughly about the same tall. And what we see here is a pretty good looking pattern overall, or at least a whole lot better than what we initially saw when we tested that combination last time with the modified choke in that gun. Really, this is a pretty good looking pattern for what that shell is. Right around our point of aim here, you have a really pretty decent spread there, and maybe even a little bit of a core starting just off that right edge right there. There's a little clump of pellets there. So overall here, I'm kind of liking what I'm seeing so far. So I'd say, looking at that pattern there, that 710 turkey full choke in that gun kind of did what I was hoping it would do. Yeah, it might be a little bit on the tighter end for that specific gun since it is an overboard, but in the grand scheme of 12 gauge constriction numbers in general, 710 is kind of right where these shells might want to live at. So to me, it made sense to at least try it, and I'd say that it absolutely kind of did what I wanted it to do. So with that being said, I did bring 2 templates out here just to give us a little bit better reference point. So let's start out with a 10-inch circle and kind of see what our core area looks like and how many pellets we have. And that'll give us a little bit better idea of how this actually performed in a practical situation instead of just on the paper. Okay, so here's our 10-inch circle, and if we put it right around our point of aim there, it gave us 14 pellets within that, which that's kind of sort of the vital size on something like a Coyote that you would really be wanting to hit. And 14 pellets worth of BB would absolutely do the job. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. So overall here, the numbers are looking pretty good for us. But let's throw the hog template up here and see what it looks like. Not necessarily because you would use these for hunting hogs, but it's really as close as I can get to something kind of sort of the size of a coyote. It might be a little bit bigger, but it'll at least give us a little bit of a reference point. Let's throw that hog template up here real quick and just see what it looks like. Okay, and here is that hog template, and as we can very clearly see, if that would have been a coyote or a fox inside of there, you would have absolutely hammered him. There's no question about that. Pretty good even coverage across it there, so absolutely a pretty good looking pattern, and a whole lot better than kind of what we've seen in the past with this 835 and a little bit larger shot sizes like this BB. So overall here, I'm definitely happy with how this performed. Okay, and here's the wad out of that shell, and as you can see, it straight up just looks like a Federal Flight Control wad, like they would use in their buckshot shells. The tail fins flared out pretty much perfectly, nothing really too strange to see, other than this one flap opened up farther than the other two for whatever reason, but I don't think it really had any effect on our pattern, but nothing stuck down in there at all. Everything looks good. Doesn't even look like anything snagged, which is my initial thought for this one pedal, but the edge of it looks very clean and not really anything too concerning, really. And I'd say it did what it was supposed to do in this test anyway. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about that performance right there? Definitely looks pretty good in my book anyway. There's not any kind of fox, coyote, or even groundhog or anything like that that would make it through that kind of a pattern out to 40 yards at least, absolutely. So overall, I'm definitely happy with the improvement that we saw with the turkey full over the last time we tested it through this Mossberg anyway, with the stock modified choke. And I'm definitely glad to see that at least there is some larger shot size shells that do perform pretty decently out of that 835, which it has struggled with in the past. So at the end of the day here, really no complaints from me as far as that pattern is concerned. But as always, leave your thoughts about it in the comments and let me know, is that about what you expected to see, or were you a little bit surprised? And if you've tested these Hornady Magnum Coyotes through an 835, or just the Magnum Coyotes in general, what has been your experience with them? Let me know all that down in the comments. But with that being said, I'm gonna get back to testing for y'all. I've got a bunch more stuff coming, so stay tuned. As always, we have the channel Instagram, as well as the mailbox where you can send things if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm gonna get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.